Tim and his son Matthew, out in the woods they run. From dawn to dusk they wander beneath the glowing sun, hunting, fishing together through the rivers and the streams, looking for Bigfoot shadow, living life's sweet dreams. Godly values they cherish, father and son so strong. In family and in faith they flourish together where they belong. Hunting nation, the sportsmen true, with hearts so kind and free. Their bond so pure and new, out in nature's spree. Tim shows Matt the way in all their daily chores. In honesty they stay, opening cherished doors. Hand in hand they travel with memories to make lessons learned, unravel in every step they take.
What's up, y'all? It's Deals Outdoors after a little bit of a break, getting ready for the turkey season, and I'm going, without further ado, I'm going to bring in the big boss,
the old man,
old man down the road. So what's going on, Dad? What you been doing since everybody seen you last?
and nothing, just building stuff. Since like
three-piece desk,
two desks and all kinds of junk, but nothing since they closed the gates on us in January, to where I can't get to none of my Bigfoot and spots and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I hate that they do that, but
and what do you do?
what can you do?
Yeah.
So this episode, y'all, we're going to be talking about turkey hunting, and because season starts, I think Youth Day is in 2 weeks.
Yeah, the Youth Day's on the 5th of April, and our season for adults starts the 12th of April.
The week after. So we're going to just kind of go through different strategies we use, what a regular turkey hunt for us would be like. Before we do too much, because we do have some people that have, we've been on their on their pro staffs and things like that. First one we want to do is we want to send this up for RNA Knife Makers. I don't think Dad's got one of their knives with him right now, but they make some really awesome knives. Number for them is right there on the bottom. They do not have a social media page. They do not have a website. If you just want something made, call him up, talk to him, tell him what you want.
Yeah, there you go.
Call him up. I don't think that's copyright infringement, so I think we're okay. But that's RNA Knife Makers. The guy, he made knives for one of Trump's sons. So that's how high he's getting.
While you're doing this, I'll run and get one right quick.
Okay. All right. So while he's doing that, I'm gonna bring up the next one. We've got Scent Blender. I've started using that. I'm actually, when we get to where we're doing some fishing, Scent Blender has something that they called a chum bucket. It's a what a Scent Blender is. It's almost like a mini food processor. You can put acorns, sticks, leaves, corn, persimmons. If you want to make your own cover scent, that's what Scent Blender is for. And they have a thing called the chum bucket, which is specifically for fishing. You can take minnows, you can take herring, you can take anchovies, whatever you want to use as a bait, blend it up, dip your lure in it, and toss it out. And the chum bucket it's meant to hold in one place, so you can dip your lure in it. Come when we start doing some fishing, I'm gonna try to get one of them chum buckets. They're not that expensive. They go right along with the regular scent blender system, and they'll like I said, they're specifically meant for fishing. I'm gonna show this number again for RNA knife makers. Dad, you want to show their knife real quick?
Yeah, this is the second one I got from them. You can see it's a beautiful knife. Man,
Oh, yeah.
it is razor sharp.
You can see the edge on it. You can see that just shining in the.
Yeah, it is definitely a good knife.
For sure.
And what I like about them is you got something in your hand.
Yeah,
If they're tuning in again, they've probably seen this one.
that's your Skinner, ain't it?
Yeah, this is you can see the R and A right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you what, I absolutely love them. And if I did have a beard, it would shave me. It'll shave the hairs on my arms. As you can tell, they're about gone out of a couple of spots.
We ain't gonna test it on mine.
But
But again, that's RNA knife makers. The number on that is at the bottom, 864-903-5167.
and the good thing about it is they're handmade. They're not mass produced. They build them one at a time.
And the last one we've got, I'm wearing them right now. It is Trees in Camouflage. This is right now. This is actually their early season camo. Got a little bit of the hex design in it, not the hex suit or anything like that. But for turkey season so far, I've not been able to get a hold of the. They have a leafy suit. I've not been able to get a hold of one of those yet, but hopefully it'll be on the horizon soon. What I have done so far is for early season deer season and for turkey season, I've got some of their early season gear, these fingerless gloves, and go ahead and throw this on. Let's make sure I put it on the right way. Because knowing me, I'll screw that up. Come turkey season, be good to go. And I like that this is real light for me. To me, it's not too tight, at least for me. This is just very lightweight. I have some of their stuff. I've used some of their stuff back during gun season. Their cold weather gear, their late season gear. It's got a little more gray and brown in it, not as much green. Their late season gear, I used a net gator from them, helped keep me warm on some really cold days. so cold that the water in my water bottle started to turn into ice while I was sitting there. But it did the job, kept me warm. They've got some gear called Impeasy gear. It's like super cold weather gear, bibs and parkas and things like that, stuff to really keep you warm. They run the gambit. They've got a turkey vest that I'd love to get a hold of. Just right now, it ain't in the cards, but it's on the wish list. And that's it for pro staff. We don't want to say sponsors because we're not sponsored, but people that have opened up and said, we'd like you to put our name on your program. They've let us do that, allowed us to do that. So that's it for them so far. We've got another one in the works. I've got to get a couple of their stuff. I just got added on to pro staff of another company, and hopefully it won't be too much longer. We'll be able to show you some of their stuff. And that's it for now. And now to the meat and taters of the situation, since it's already been about 10 minutes into this. TV's hard. But so what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about just like if me and Dad were to go in the woods on a morning turkey hunt, we're going to try to walk through locating them on the tree, all the way to calling them in, like different calls you can use, different strategies you can use. So Dad has one. He's got one call that I do not have, and it's a woodpecker call. So Dad, if you want to go ahead and break out the woodpecker call, kind of show them how you work it.
You don't want me, your mama don't want me to blow that in the house.
I can understand that.
Well,
And it is. Made Tony Callaway come out of his skin.
yeah, but this is all it is. It'll make the sound of a pileated woodpecker. It's good for up in the day. I use it more, if they've gobbled on the roost or whatever and they didn't come in. And I just let them go, and then I tried to go back and locate where they're at. I'll use that, and it works real good in the middle of the day. And I have had coyotes answer it. I've had a Bigfoot answer it, but it's supposed to be a turkey call, and it actually works great for it, because middle of the day when the woodpeckers is flying and hollering, and that gobbler's by himself where the hens is gone to set on nest or whatever. He wants to be the loudest thing in the woods, so it actually works. It works real good.
And the way to head, ain't it like a
Yeah, I'll do it one time right quick. I don't think she'll kill me. So it's loud, but
it is. If you're right next to him using it, it'll feels like it's gonna bust your eardrum. I mean,
if you've got it, when you use it, you just tuck, 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 tuck,
Yep.
and just do it in the rhythm of a woodpecker, because
majority of us have heard of woodpecker in the woods. That
yeah, especially when they fly,
yeah,
and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now early morning, this is one of your best friends.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you can adjust your, you can touch on it and make different, but alcohol is one of the best things for early morning. Because turkeys love answering them. And then, so for alcohol, they make different kinds. This is a hoot tube. This ain't a hoot tube. This is just a hooter.
Yeah.
This is from Hunter Specialties. It's a hooter. Now there's another one that's a hoot tube that is more almost kind of, it's like this but bigger. It's more of a
almost like a deer grunt call.
Almost, yeah. It's pretty close.
And it's for doing the life, or what I call life.
Yeah, wah, like that.
Yeah.
But the hoot tube, I love first thing in the morning. Just then get a turkey entering.
That one thing that if you and most of the places that we do hunt do have owls around them, but and I'm sure Matthew was going to get to this in a minute, but if you don't have owls around or you've not heard them, then a crow call and I use that a lot over at Mom and Daddy's, because they don't have, you'll hear a hoot owl every once in a while, but you hear more crows than anything.
Yeah.
And so if you're not hearing owls, then don't use the owl call. Wait till the crows start hollering and then hit your crow call.
Mm-hmm. And the kind of the pattern on the owl call is the old one. Everybody goes, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Do it that way. That. If you want, and to me, it's a good idea to add that little like kind of a vibrato in there. because that gives you that, oh,
That's a better word than I was going to use. I was going to say that gargle at the end.
yeah.
Because that's
That's
about how you do it.
because a vibrato is a musical term.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you go to a crow call. The crow call is another one that's really good for if the sun's starting to come up and you can kind of see that again, we all know what a crow sounds like. You know, um, but obviously, I'm not gonna bust it out as loud as I can because I'll wake up my two youngins. Assuming that didn't do it already. But just a big like that with a crow call, and something you can do too. Turkeys ain't going. You want to mess with some crows? Do this little trick. Do a little in there with it, the little vibrato again. Makes it sound like crows fighting. So you can do that and actually get a bunch of crows stirred up.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if you get the crows stirred up enough to where there's a bunch of them going, that can get the turkeys to answering.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't, sometimes they just hear that one, they won't do nothing. But they hear 4 or 5 crows acting up, the turkey will start to gobble.
And one thing that I do, Bubba, is I like I said, I wait till the crows holler, and I'll do the exact call that the crows do. If he hits it 3 times, then I'll hit it 3 times. If he just hits it once, then I'll hit it once.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Just to sound like what they're used to hearing.
Right.
And I mean, we ain't professionals by no means.
We're not Michael Waddell.
No, we love old Marvin Waffle House,
and we love Waddy.
yeah,
We're a Waddy household for sure.
yeah.
Waddy's one of them. If he puts his name on it, I trust it pretty good.
Yeah, but it's just what works for us, and where you're at is going to be maybe a whole lot different. It depends on, and where that said, we're going for Easterns, so
yes.
that's going to have a lot to do with the kind of calling and that kind of stuff. Because some subspecies are not as vocal, and some are more vocal. So
was Osceolas, I think they said Osceolas are about the most vocal.
I think so.
They gobble, 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 gobble. If I'm mistaken, and this is not to start a debate because it's too easy, I think the going consensus for most is that the Eastern is the hardest turkey to hunt because it is one that gets call shot the quickest.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that just in the way the turkey acts, the Eastern is the hardest to go after.
Mm-hmm.
But all that being said, say you get the big boy up on the roost, and you've done a couple of them calls, and you hear him up on roost, and you get down close to him, good enough to where when he flies off, that you know where he's at. Me personally, now this is I think where me and Dad are different. So Dad told me earlier he likes using a slate call for this, which a slate call. It's one of these. And I'm actually going to show on this one, I'm going to show how to season one up a little bit. So this one, it's got a little smooth. So take this right here. You can get them at, who makes this one? Primos. You can take this, take some sandpaper, some good rough grit sandpaper, but take it and just scratch it up. Scratch it up real good. Take your striker. which what I did starting off on that, this right here is a purr.
I think your microphone's cutting in and off, Hot Rod. I hear it when it starts, but then in the middle of it, it goes away.
What about now?
Mm-mm,
Nothing?
nothing.
Let's try it closer to it.
I get that first little bit of it.
I wonder if it's considering it so loud that it's trying to cut it off.
It may be.
But if you do it just like a real easy,
Now it's picking it up.
okay, it was going. It was the microphone was thinking it was too loud. But
Yeah.
just do it at an angle and just a slow little pull across. That's it. That's all you need for a purr.
Mhm.
But for the most part, if a turkey's on the tree, they're not going to be purring. They're going to be doing what's called a tree yelp. And a tree yelp, at least from what I've learned, and now I actually looked this up off the Wild Turkey Federation website because I was trying to learn every call I could to figure out what to use. A tree yelp is when you wake up first thing in the morning, usually your voice is lower and you talk slower. You're waking up. So usually on a tree yelp, you're going to do slow. Kind of like that, just slower yelps. As the turkeys will start to wake up, you can kind of get that pitch up a little bit and kind of get it louder, get a little faster, but you don't want to get it to the point that you're messing yourself up.
It's sort of like when you wake up in the morning and you ain't wide awake.
Yep. It's kind of that, like when that's essentially what a turkey's doing when they do that tree yelp. That's they're kind of like groaning, like, okay, here we go. That's them. That's them on a tree yelp.
Yeah.
And then once they kind of get shook off and woke up, that's when you got a better chance of hearing your up on roost. That's when they get a little more awake and they kind of feel a little more spry. Now the one turkey that I've killed, I actually did it wrong, but it worked for some reason. It was pouring the rain that morning, so all of these kind of friction-based calls didn't work. I just had to rely on my mouth calls, and I started off doing hold on, let me get one of my mouth calls in. See what that is. Yeah. So I started off doing this kind of like that, and it didn't work. I started off real slow and low, and it didn't do nothing. And I actually ended up getting frustrated. I did just super loud. When I got super loud is when that one turkey started gobbling back. So I was like, okay. and I shouldn't have done it. I was actually just getting frustrated, but my stupidity worked out for once, I guess.
And that's the crazy thing. You never know what's going to make one.
No.
Gobble. I've heard them gobble at airplanes. I've heard them gobble at boats going up the lake. I've heard them gobble at car doors slamming. And you may think I'm telling a lie, but my daddy will tell you the truth. Him and one of my buddies was all three at the catfish pond fishing, got there and was the first people there. And daddy stepped out and pooted real loud. And where it was at, it back in the holler, it echoed a little bit. And there's a turkey gobbled at it. That ain't no joke.
No. I mean, these are the same ones that they know what thunder is. These animals know what thunder is, and they'll still gobble at thunder.
I've actually shot one and have another one gobble at the gun going off. So
Yep, shock gobble.
mhm.
But yeah, that's the way you do the way you do that purr, like I said, you angle it, just kind of draw it back. Now to do a yelp, you do small circles.
It's cutting off you, boo.
Man, I didn't think that microphone was that sensitive. Hold on, let me see if I wonder if I can. I don't think there's anything I can do about it, but just small little. I picked that up.
I didn't hear it. I can't hear a thing, boo.
Nothing.
I heard it right there at the end. I heard it.
Okay. Well, that comes from doing these small circles, just circle, 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 like that. And usually a yelp is probably one of the easiest ones to do. That's the most common. If you can yelp, you've got a chance. I mean, even if you can just get that yelp, 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 yelp in, you've got a chance because they will answer a yelp for the most part.
And what I like to do is I'll do a real light tree yelp, and then if he gobbles and I know he's answering me back, then I'll get a little more aggressive. But then whenever it's time for them to come off the roost, I go to purring, just doing and that's about all I do is real soft purrs, just like a feeding purr, and I'll scratch the ground with my hands and then that kind of stuff until I see him or hear him coming. And but that's usually about all I don't want to say that it ain't about all you have to do, but it works good. I'll put it that way.
Another trick you can do that some people don't know, if you want to do a tree yelp and then try to entice them to come off the roost, take your hat and go.
Do a fly down.
Because it sounds like their wings flapping. Now there is a fly down cackle, but I don't deal with the cackle. I just do the and then so I'm gonna go into the mouth call because I got a feeling you might be able to hear these mouth calls better. And I'm honestly, just be perfectly honest, I'm more comfortable with mouth calls than I am with anything else. I've worked a whole lot more on getting better with mouth calls. So the thing on a mouth call is, or a diaphragm, whichever one you want to call it. We always just call it a mouth call. If you look on your call, there's a little so like usually there's the writing on the bottom here. There's a little knot right here, and that's the part that's supposed to go against the roof of your mouth. So you take it here. Set it up against the roof of your mouth. I recommend a bottle of water because your mouth will dry out. And when I go turkey hunting, I always have a bottle of water with me to help keep my spit in my mouth while I'm using these calls.
And also it's good to just throw in your mouth when you first put your mouth call in to get it wet and moistened up.
And get it formed to the roof of your mouth. Because not everybody's I guess it's your palate. Not everybody's is the same. So it has to form to yours to make sure that it fits right. Because sometimes if it's too big, you might even have to trim your call down a little bit. Luckily, I got a big mouth, so they usually fit mine just right. But
and also one thing is you can look for a small frame if you're looking for your kids. And you want to get your kids into calling them, a lot of them will make a small frame call.
Yeah.
And that's more for the youth or smaller frame people.
Yeah,
Probably
and
the fellas like me and Matthew, we need one made out of a horseshoe.
pretty much. And I'll say this too, as far as we'll get this on my mouth. Sorry, but as far as slate calls, I think it's Hunter Specialties, H. Truett. They make one called the cookie cutter, and what it does, it takes your call here, and it has like a lid that sits on top of it, and it's got three different um,
It teaches you how to do the calls.
yeah, and I got one for my son. I got one for my 10-year-old or 11-year-old now. I got one for him. I got one for Dayton, and it was like you can pop the top off of it and scratch it up like you need to and condition it. Pop that thing back on, and I mean, I know for some folks, your kid sitting there scratching on a turkey call can end up getting annoying. But for me, I loved it because I'd sit there and just listen to how much better he got. I love getting to just sit and do that kind of stuff with him. So for me, the cookie cutter for a kid is probably one of the, and this is not, not a sponsor, nothing like that, but for somebody trying to learn how to use a slate call, I think the cookie cutter is probably one of the best calls because it shows you what to do. And and I'm just, and again, for a kid, I can't recommend something like that enough.
Or a beginner, not just
or just a beginner.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had Dad teach me how to use these.
And I was going to say the thing about it is we grew up doing it. So, but we don't want to say for kids and then adults, well, I don't want to be a kid. It ain't that.
Yeah, no.
It's for a beginner, not just kids.
Exactly. And but the next one that I like to use, again, this is my favorite thing to use, is a mouth call. And the one turkey I've killed, it was solely off of a mouth call because, again, none of my friction calls worked. So what I did, at least, my specific one with this turkey, once I got him to where he was on the ground. So the thing is, when that turkey hit the ground for me, he didn't gobble once he hit the ground. He got on the ground and he got quiet, but he did drum. If you're ever out there and you hear something going, that's when they strut, and that's them feathers. And like I said, he wouldn't gobble, but you could just hear off in the woods, off to the right of me. You could hear the drumming. So that's how I knew he was getting close. And what I did, I had a hen decoy out in front of me, and when he, like, you could see his white head going through the woods like this, and you can see him look over in the woods, and he kind of perked up, and he goes up to the edge of the field, and when he comes into the field, he struts out. And so what I did when I saw him coming in, I did feeding purrs, just little. That's all I did. And all that is just taking it and going like that. That's all that is. And every now and then I break it up, just doing a little. Like that. And because when they're feeding and they're purring like that, that means they're content. That means that everything's fine. They're not worried about nothing. They're just feeding. And then I had the wind blow my decoy just a little bit and made it kind of turn. And when it did that, I went from doing these little purrs to just a big. Just a lot of yelps, and super excited, because those excited yelps, what it did to him is when that decoy turned and I started doing those super fast yelps, he went from strutting to, he stopped strutting and just started walking on down to her like, "Hey, baby, what's up?" He threw all caution to the wind and walked right to her. Now, obviously, not every situation is going to work out that way. Sometimes there's a lot more cat and mouse and playing chess with them. Sometimes the only thing they need a cackle. Like that. Sometimes that gets them worked up. It just, and then to me, the hardest call to do, I've only been able to pull it off with one particular call consistently, is a Kiki run. And this is not the one. I don't even know if I've got the call that does it anymore. But a Kiki run is a high pitch, like that, but it's like a 2-note whistle or a 3-note whistle, and then usually 2 yelps. If you can do a Kiki run, because it's one that they use a lot, and I think the purpose of a Kiki run is trying to bring the rest of the flock together. It's an assembly call, and it's such a hard call to use that if you can figure out how to do it, they're really liable to come into a Kiki run, just because usually nothing else but a turkey can do a Kiki run. So they feel a whole lot more comfortable coming to that. And the one other call that we've got to show, box call. So for me, a box call is probably the best long range locator call, because box calls are loud. And I mean, they don't have to be. You can be real soft with them. And that's me just going, the box call don't take much, but if you really want to let rip on a box call, that sound carries, and it carries really good. The thing on a box call is there's a little bit of upkeep with them on some of them. So this one, this is a Nightingale Wet Willie call. So this one, I keep a rubber band on it so it don't just flop around when I'm walking, but that right there makes it to where you don't have to chalk it. And there's a couple other box calls that do the same thing. You don't have to chalk it up. But if you don't have that and you've got another box call, you're supposed to take chalk, put it on the underside of this, because that creates your friction. But just a box call, now you can do purrs with it, just easy. This ain't the best one for purrs. No. But box calls for me are better for your cackles or just your yelp. And you saw that doesn't take much. Not a lot of movement required for them. Now, another one that people use, I don't use one. I had one for a little while, and I kind of fell out of love with it, is a push button call. That was just my thing. They're good for if you're not wanting to move, because all you do is just go like that. I don't have one to show. Really good yelp call, because just that constant.
And they're good for purring too, because you can push it real slow and
Yeah.
get that drag on it.
And they don't require much movement. Just a finger. That's it. And so me personally, I do have one other call, and this is kind of for me, this is kind of a last ditch call. Gobble call. Gobble calls are okay, but again, to me, and Dad can prove me wrong, a gobble call is kind of a last ditch effort, because sometimes you got a gobbler he's not coming into anything, but you hit him with that. I got it muted right now, but you can hit that like that, and sometimes that'll end up getting them to where they answer, because they're wanting to answer back to another gobbler, wanting to be the biggest, baddest thing in the woods. But it can also spook gobblers. because they might think that there's a couple other gobblers that'll jump on them. So it's kind of that to me a gobble call is one of the riskier calls to use when you turkey hunt.
I use it a lot, and I when I was hunting down in Georgia, I used it a lot down there and killed a lot of turkeys with it. But it's one of those when they hang up and they don't want to come in, and they're 100 yards out or whatever, and like Matthew said, when they're starting to leave and you can tell that they're still gobbling, but they're going further away, I'll hit that. And a lot of times they will come in. Turkeys is just like people; they all got their own personality, and if they're wanting to strut and show they're the biggest, baddest thing around, then it'll work. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it don't. But like he said, it's a good last effort, because if they're going away and not coming to you, you've not got nothing to lose anyway. So
to me, in a deer hunting equivalent, it's your snort wheeze.
mm-hmm.
Your if you've ever deer hunted and you've heard that buck go, I killed. I got his skull on the wall over my 6-point. That's the only thing that brought him in. I grunted, I bleeded. Nothing worked. I hit that, and it comes right to me. To me, that's the same thing as a gobble call. Sometimes you can hit them with everything you've got. Crow call, box call, slate call, mouth call, cackle, purr, yelp, kiki, whatever, and he just won't come. Like Dad said, at that point, you got nothing to lose. Just hit him with that gobble, and if he's trying to be that old bad boy, then he'll come into it because he's wanting to be the biggest, baddest thing out there. Is this if that's in his personality? Because again, they've all got their own personalities. He could be a super submissive. He could be a super old gobbler that at this point is tired of fighting.
He could be a 2-year-old that's been whooped up on by an older one.
And then he could end up being that old one that likes to whoop up on everything, and he'll come right to it. Mm-hmm. You never know. I mean, you never know until you get them in your sights, and really until you get them till the flop starts. Because once the flop starts, then you can actually look at the spurs, look at the beard, everything, and kind of get an idea of how old of a turkey you're dealing with. Up until then, I mean, it's crapshoot as far as as far as the turkey that you're calling in.
And one of the ones that I killed down in Georgia, it gobbled on the roost. It gobbled over 100 times on the roost. And I was set up in an old logging road, and instead of coming around the road to me like they usually do, it went up the road, come like this, and then come out on the point like that. And I was sitting out here where they usually come around the road to, and I was sitting there waiting, and it shot up the holler and would not come to me. It wanted that hen to come to him, which is actually what is supposed to happen. Mm-hmm. But I just stayed down there and called, and when I could tell that he was starting to leave and going up the hill, then I used my gobble call on him, and here he come running, and I didn't have time to hide or nothing. I just laid against the bank of the road, and he actually walked above my head and was looking. His head come out over here, gobbling and looking to see where that other turkey was.
I bet that was loud as thunder right next to you, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. And whenever he done that, and I seen his head go back, then I just turned around and shot him.
And he had that kind of turkey, and then I had one. I had a gobbler. The last time I was able to turkey hunt, I didn't get to turkey hunt last year because I had knee surgery. But the year before that, I had one gobbler gobbled for 45 minutes straight. that he would not come in. It didn't matter what I gobble called. I did it. I had 2 decoys out in plain sight where he could see them. He wouldn't come in. He's just an old bird, and he's probably been shot at before. If he ain't been shot at, he's probably been called in before and got spooked, because that's the thing on turkeys. They know, and they do learn.
Mm-hmm.
And
Quick.
very, very quick. Sometimes you try to get a shot off on one bird at the beginning of the season. He won't gobble. If you get a shot off and you miss, he might not gobble the rest of the season, because the last time it about bit him, and he knows it.
And they also learn, I think, the tone of your calls.
Mm-hmm.
Like if my slate is a glass slate, and it has more of a higher pitch to it. And
And I've got so right now I've got 2 different slates. I've got this one that's more of an actual like stone kind of slate, and then I've got this one which is a higher slate. And when I hit it, I'm gonna try to hit it down here, see if you can maybe hear it. A little higher pitch.
both of mine are glass calls, but they're the Pyre Crystal by Primos and the Purple Haze. But the Purple Haze, to me, has a lower tone than the Pyre Crystal does.
I actually just got rid of my Purple Haze.
Did you?
Yeah. I didn't have nothing against it. I have 3 other slate calls. I was like, and the deal we've got coming up, I was like, well, I don't need the one company I'm looking at. I was like, well, I don't need another. I've already got 3, and if I'm gonna start using this other company, then I had somebody that kept saying he was wanting to get a hold of one. He never was able to, so I just gave him mine. They give me a knife from Cabela's that they don't sell in the catalogs anymore. So I was like, all right, that's a fair trade.
There you go.
We'll take it. I'm not hard to please.
Let's see. I've got this old thing. I bet that don't even work no more.
What you got? Oh, you're at that electric call?
And that's a Kiki Run.
Yeah.
This one, you can use it, which in North Carolina, you can't use electronic calls, but it's good to listen to when you're trying to learn to call.
Yeah.
You like a Yelp and a Cluck. And Kiki Run. And of course a gobbler.
Couldn't really hear much of them. What's the one? Is it a putt that's an alert call?
Yeah.
You don't want to do that, because that's the one that a hen will bust you with.
Well, you actually can, but you got to be reading the turkey, because a lot of times I have had gobblers coming in doing that, looking for the hen.
Yeah.
And if they do it, then I'll do it back and watch their body language. Usually you can watch them coming, usually. And, but if it's to where I can't watch it, then if it starts doing that and I can't watch it and I can't see it, then I'll just quit calling altogether and start scratching the ground. Just act like I'm feeding and not paying it any attention. Yeah. And one thing you want to do is you don't want to call too much, because it's easy to do, especially when you get excited and you've got one double and triple gobbling. It's easy to get to calling too much, but
Well,
It's
that's like the one that I killed. I almost made that mistake. I got him gobbling on roost, and I called right back, and he wouldn't make a sound. So that made me stop, and I held off for probably about 2 or 3 minutes till I called again. And once I held off and I called, then he gobbled back, and then I held off again for another minute or two, and then I called. That got him. That got him to wanting to answer me.
yeah.
Before that, an instant reply to him, he wouldn't answer back with.
And
It's
another thing is, just because they quit gobbling don't mean they ain't coming.
if you're dealing with an Eastern, odds are when they get quiet, they very well could be coming in. Eastern turkeys are notorious for coming in quiet.
Mm-hmm. And
That's one
and
of the things
just
that makes them so hard to hunt, because you never know that they're coming until you might get lucky and hear them drum.
and then sometimes, like the one that I got last year, I was actually calling a different turkey, and it was coming around the hill to me, and the one that I killed come walking up the hill. It never made a sound.
Yeah.
It just showed up in front of me. I didn't even know that turkey was anywhere in the woods until I was sitting on a little knoll, and then when it come up over the knoll, I seen it then. Of course, I shot it, but the one that I was calling was actually still about 70 yards out coming in.
Yeah.
And another thing is, a lot of time, and just like deer hunting, we hunt for food. If it's a jake, if it's legal, we'll take it. Especially hunting public land.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times jakes and stuff like that will come in and never make a sound because they don't want whooped.
Yeah.
They don't want the other gobblers to know they're anywhere around. And I've actually killed them like that before.
Yep.
Sneaking in. And I know this is a little off subject, but also that is a great time to kill coyotes when you're turkey hunting. I've killed more coyotes turkey hunting than I have coyote hunting.
Because them coyotes think that you're a turkey, so they're going to come out, and then especially if you've got decoys set out, if they go out there and start hearing one, and then they think they see one, well, yeah, they're going to come to it. Bobcats will do the same thing.
Yeah, I've had my decoy tore up by a stupid bobcat.
I remember that decoy.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be another episode we do before season starts, showing off decoy setups. Which really I don't. Well, actually, as far as decoy setups go, the one thing that I think I'm gonna try this year, because I finally got a Jake decoy. I think possibly even on Youth Day when we get to take Dayton, if we get a chance to get some decoys set up, I've got one. It's a breeding hen, and I've got a Jake decoy. I'm gonna put that Jake decoy right behind that breeding hen, so it looks like she's about to get mounted.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a gobbler, especially an old boy, if he comes out and he sees this pump like he's about to get on one of his hens, he gonna come in looking for a fight, because he don't want him to breed her.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like early season is the best time to do, like early in your turkey season is the best time to do that before they get real call shy. Because if they're just starting to get in the groove of things, then usually that young dumb Jake is the first one that ends up going out and doing something stupid. So seeing a Jake about to mount a hen to them is very natural, because it's early season. The Jakes are the ones trying to run out at the beginning of the season, trying to get them bred, because they're excited.
Teenagers,
they're hormonal. The old gobblers are the ones that's hanging out in the back going, idiot.
and another thing is, if a turkey goes quiet, and even if it don't come in, hang around for a while, because a lot of times 10 or 11 o'clock, they'll start gobbling again, especially if the hens leave them and that kind of stuff. Middle of the day is actually as good a time as any to hunt, because a lot of times by then, like I just said, they've left the hens has left them sitting on the nest or whatever, and they find by themselves. And a lot of times they'll come back exactly to where you called from that morning, looking for you.
And I've never been one to do much evening hunting on turkeys. I know you can, but usually to do that, you got to be getting close to the tree that they're roosting in for the evening, because that's usually from what I've seen on evening hunts with turkeys, that's about the only way that's going to happen, is you go back to where they're roosting of the evening and catch them about to go back on the roost. But that's why you usually don't hear much out of evening hunts with turkeys. Normally turkeys is first thing in the morning, in the middle of the day.
They was the big, and I stayed there after up on Harrison Cove. I hunted it of evening because I know where it was roosting at. Never did kill the stupid thing, but it is a jerk. But man, it was a hoss. As deaf as I am, that's the only turkey I've ever had that gobbled so loud it hurt my ears when it was a gobbling.
Might be why you're deaf now.
Yeah, it could be.
But this has been going on about an hour. I think we've pretty much give every example we can think of, every situation I can think of. For the most part, for really, like my only extra tip, and Dad said it a few times, listen to what they do. If you can listen to what they do and try to replicate it, a lot of times it'll work out to your benefit.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're going to call it on this episode, since we've been pushing an hour and didn't mean to go that long, but getting through field staff and sponsors went 10 minutes. So we're gonna call it, and hopefully we're going to take another little break because we ain't got a whole lot to talk about until then. But we're going to try to get Dayton's Youth Day turkey hunt, weather permitting. We're going to try to get it on film, because if we get it on film, we'll have Dayton's first kill ever. But on top of that, hopefully we'll get to see him get them I'll probably do the calling, me or Dad will, but
both of us.
But we want to see. I definitely want to get footage of his first time hearing them things go. So, because to me, the first time you hear one gobble, that's how you know you got the itch. If the first time you hear one gobble, if it don't get you worked up, stick to deer hunting. But we appreciate y'all joining us, and nothing happens. We'll see you on the next one.